Anxiety in your kid's athletic journey is totally normal, and sports are a way to repeatedly expose our kids to the stress so they can learn to adapt and use it to build healthy habits. We've always had those times, though, when the experience doesn't go well and it gets anchored as a negative experience. This can be tough to overcome. It's also part of the journey. I remember I was invited to train with junior national team, and I was only 14. I was so nervous. We drove up in this old white van, 10 passenger Dodge van that we had gotten from the Navy auction. And I was embarrassed. We were up in Orange County. Everyone had fancy cars. We get out. I didn't even want to. I didn't want to open the door. I didn't want to pull up in the front empty parking spot. How'd I get through that? I took some breaths. I focused on what I knew I needed to do. I imagined where I was going. I imagined opening up the door, walking to the practice, opening up the gate, going in. I'm going to go find the coach, introduce myself. Hi, coach. I'm Jesse Smith. Where do I go? And what thoughts was I thinking on that journey, even in the visualization aspect of it? What fears? And we all have body images. We all have imposter syndromes. What am I even doing here? Man, I'm too fat. I'm too small. I'm too slow. I'm not good enough. All these things. But when you visualize it and you run through it, you realize that you've already done it once in your head and you can do it in real life. And it's a trick. Well, why are we not practicing that? Sometimes it's just coming across that information. And that's why I'm sharing that here now with you and here on LinkedIn, that many of you are parents with kids that play sports. You can silence those fears just by visualizing the actions and then thinking, what am I thinking that creates this fear? And negating it or reframing it so you have a solution. A funny thing about it is that when you think about a national team tryout, the hardest part is the actual skill set. But a lot of times you get stuck thinking about other things that aren't even related to what you're being judged on. I remember when I was living in Greece, I flew in from Los Angeles and I was going to move to Greece. And I had just graduated from Pepperdine University. My wife and I, my future wife and I, we were traveling together from LA to Barcelona because we were going to meet the team there. The season had already started. And they had a game, Piraeus Ethnikos versus Barceloneta. And we had everything we owned was in our suitcases. We were prepared to live in Athens for 2 years. We stopped there. We got off the plane. I was so nervous. But all I did was focus on two things. I focused on being polite and being present and interested in who I was meeting. So we got to the hotel. I knew what I was there for. I introduced myself. I shook their hands. I focused. I listened. I played as hard as I could. Talk about pressure. And we had a lot to live up to. And we delivered. We ended up winning against some of the best teams in Europe. And we upset a few teams to win the Greek national championship. As underdogs, there's nothing better than overperforming and executing on the plan. And it wasn't easy. There's a lot of other obstacles. But I showed up. I put my best foot forward in an uncomfortable situation. And because I had many, many times practicing that since I was 14, 13, which we all get those experiences through sports. And I'm so grateful for it.